What's up, guys? We are here with the Young Entrepreneurs Network podcast. Your host, Matt Estacio, and Jake Kiltz, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. We're here to interview Megan Holly. I'm just going to say Meg. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Megan.
Yeah. That's your brand.
It's like Prince, like one name. It's
Absolutely.
good.
Megan Holly. Actually, it does flow really well. Megan Holly.
Right? Yeah.
It's just so inviting.
It's like Versace.
Good to hear. I'm glad.
It's like Versace. Megan Holly.
Maybe
like
one day I'll be like Versace. That's pretty cool.
I like the brand.
We're going to have a rap song.
Yeah.
Megan Holly, Megan Holly, Megan Holly.
God, that's great, man. You can make millions off of that.
Right?
Especially with rap these days.
Right.
It's
Oh my
horrible. Anyways, Megan Holly here. She's a photographer, new young entrepreneur. We're really excited to have her on the show. She has some awesome information to give us, as well as some of her story is how she got to this point with entrepreneurship and with photography. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about kind of what got you started. Start from the beginning as early as you want, and give us a little bit of your background.
Sure thing. So I am just one of those people who has been a multi-passionate person, creative person for my whole entire life. Like, I don't understand people who don't have something they're passionate about, because I'm like, I love all the things.
You have a bunch.
Yes, I have a bunch. So, way back when, originally going to college, I went and thought I was going to be in early childhood for my whole life. You go in like very narrow-minded and thinking that's what you're going to do. And I, went to school, got my degree, and started out as a preschool teacher. Loved my life there, and working with those kiddos, because I absolutely love kids, but found myself missing some of the more creative side of things. Obviously there are creative things that you do within a preschool setting, but
because it was so rigorous, like it was so like structured, was the issue?
I was in like a more of a Montessori type of setting, so it's a little bit different. There's a little bit more room for wiggle
improvising,
room. Yeah, exactly. But I felt like it was a little bit monotonous, and I just was like, what else? What am I missing? And so while I was there, we would do journals, where the photography side comes in. We would do journals every week for the parents, and we would do pictures, write up like a heartfelt synopsis of each kid's week, and people would always comment like, I can always tell, like, do you do photography? I can always tell when you take the pictures. And I'm like, I don't know.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know, just always the angle's right, and and I would like, I remember I would go back, like now looking back on it, I went back and if I took a picture of a kid and it was like even slightly blurry, or they like looked a little weird, I'd be like, delete, and I'd take it again, or
Is this
whatever.
natural, or did you already were you already interested in photography?
At that point, I hadn't had any education or done much of it. I took pictures maybe of my family or something at a party. That was literally it. I just had a knack and an eye for it, and then so it kind of evolved from there. Then I bought myself like a little point and shoot at that point, and would like be out in nature, walking around, taking pictures of like a little mushroom on the log or whatever, and just kind of was like, I really do like this. And then slowly evolved into doing it for family and friends, got myself a little bit more educated on things, started taking like free workshops, all this different stuff, and then the ball just started rolling and never stopped. And so at that time I was just doing it part-time, because I was teaching and wasn't ready to jump into it full-time. I was a little timid at that point, like, I really love it, but is this what I want to do? And then kind of, I'll kind of fast forward for the rest, because it's a, kind of an up and down, jog through my career. But then during that time, I kind of kept it at part-time, and then took a job that I could not pass up. Dance is another one of my multi-passion creative sides, and I got the opportunity to be on in a program that I was able to manage and direct the whole entire thing. So it was like a full-time job plus that.
So it's like a huge deal to get this.
Huge deal. It was huge. It was the income, the financial side,
How did you
the
get
status,
in the position
all of that.
to have that happen? Like, what was going on?
Great question. So I was teaching, like, when I was doing photography part-time, I was doing preschool during the day, photography part-time, teaching at a couple studios just part-time. Like a lot of people in the dance field are just like teaching bing bong bing all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
So I was teaching at a couple places, and one of the places was the Park District. And so I just started picking up a couple classes there, and then they were like, we really like you. Would you ever want to be like the coordinator? And I was like, what does that mean? So then I like took like a next step there and taught, and then was the coordinating position. And then they were like, we really, really like you. Do you want to be the managing director? And I was like, what? I just never saw myself running a whole entire dance program.
Yeah.
Love dance, but I was like, what? So I went into it in full force. So everything went to the wayside when I took that job.
How did you feel about you managing? Were you managing other dance directors?
So I was managing, I had 2 coordinators under me, and then about 13 to 15 staff, depending on the season.
How did you feel about your ability to manage those people?
Good question. So terrified, terrified, because before that I was a teacher in a classroom. I was a photographer. I was
preschool
You're managing kids.
preschool kids, or in a dance class.
A little bit different than adults.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you think, but sometimes,
well, true statement right there. You've got that right. So it was terrifying. I was like, I have to do a budget. I have to do, you know what I mean? Like, besides like making sure my own bank account's in shape, that was like, I have like a whole, like a budget for like a couple $100,000 program, and I'm like, okay, I have to hire people, I have to fire people.
So to be real, did you have any idea what the hell you were doing?
There was a lot of stuff I was like, this isn't on my resume. This is not on my resume. There's a lot. I knew the creative side. I knew how to pick out a good costume. I knew how to put together a whole show. Yeah. That side of it came natural to me because it's creative and I can figure out how to do it. Even if I didn't know how to do it, I felt comfortable that I'd be able to make it happen.
Of course.
But the budget, the managing side of it, I was like, you guys are taking a gamble. But they really believed in me, and I was like, okay.
How did you do? Did you do
I
okay?
did all right. I definitely struggled. Like, I guess going back, like I did struggle, in certain areas. But with the right questions, the right, being like, somebody help me. I'm just being real. Like, I never ever really pretended that I didn't know. Like, even when like I was like up for the interview, because they still went, even though they asked me like they were interested in it, they still like did the whole interviewing process and all of that. And I had like a group interview, so there was like 10 people just grilling me with questions, and I was like, I'm being very honest. Like, I'm not like, incompetent. I don't know how to do things, but I really do. I haven't had much, time with any of this. So,
well, you had all the leverage because they were begging you, essentially.
Right.
So it's a little bit different where you could be like, hey,
but it was still equally as like, I was just like, this is something else. And so, I mean, I just remember looking back even right now live as I'm talking about it, I'm like, wow, I just wasn't ready for it, but I did it. I jumped in, and I was there for almost 4 years, and it was a great ride. There was plenty of tears, I'll tell you what. Like, I'm a very strong person, and I have a good positive mindset, but there was just times when I'm like, what am I doing? Dealing with the people, I think, beside from the budget and all that stuff was tricky sometimes. But
so from that, I take it you're an opportunist.
Yeah.
So you see an opportunity, you don't know if you're going to be able to do it, you're just going to try your best.
For better or for worse.
Do you feel like so my wife is the ultimate, like, looks at all the problems and sees if they're solvable or not, and then goes, this is probably not a good idea? Or are you more on your creative side, like jumping into it, just like, whatever, we'll figure it out?
Yeah. So my husband calls me the Divergent. And what that means is
so you have split personalities. Is that what you're saying?
No, he uses it in a way that he says that I see like the end results, right? So we used to do when I was doing the managing position, we did this strength finders test. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's like a book, and you do this quiz, and it like tells you your top 5. I think it's
your personality.
5.
Oh yeah,
like your strengths.
Disc? Is that a disc test or is that a different one?
There's different levels.
It comes with a disc. So I don't know. I can't remember all the ins and outs of it because I took it so many years ago now.
100 different tests like that.
But and then they like coach you. There's like a coach person who like kind of tells you like how you can use your strengths better. Like and she was telling me things that I'm like, oh, that's why I do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, she told me that I have like 3 out of the 5 were like combinations that she's never seen. She's like, you could be, and she told me you can bulldoze people because you see the end result before other people even know like what the problem is. They're like, what are you doing?
It's an excellent skill to have. Right
I
there.
know, but it can be kind of like a thorn in my side because then I'm like, oh yeah, like you said, if your wife's like, oh hold on, maybe that's not a good idea. I'm like, it's all a good idea.
Yep, me too.
It's all a good idea.
All a good idea.
You know, and my husband, on the contrary, he's like, what? Like, what? This isn't a good idea. Why are you doing this? We don't have the money for that, or we don't have the expertise for that. And
Here's
I'm like,
the problems.
We'll figure it out. The money will come.
It'll happen.
The supplies will come. The whatever will come.
And if it doesn't happen, it's all right. We'll be all right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I learned something. Who knows? Whatever comes of it. So yeah, that's where the Divergent comes from because he's like, I don't ever see what you see ever. And I think there's.
Actually, that could be difficult even like for partnership or collaboration. Like if your partner, the person you're trying to work with, doesn't see the same vision that you do,
yes,
problems can arise.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And working very closely with my 2 other coordinators when I was managing the dance program, I really had to be mindful of that because we all were very strong-minded. We all had extremely clear ideas about things. Sometimes we're right on par. We could, put 3 things in front of each ourselves and we would all pick the same thing, and sometimes we would be like, nope, I see this, nope. So I have to be mindful, knowing that for me personally, that's something that I have, a trait that I have that's just like, nope, this is the answer. I've got to go, okay, let them speak their piece. Like, you know what I mean? Like, be that person that's not just like, this is the right answer, let's just do it, all the time. So,
which is great for management. If you can let people come to the conclusion that you have with them believing that they came to that conclusion instead of telling them is a lot better strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So where are you now?
So then my time there managing the program ended in September, and then that's when I officially of 2018.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's when I decided I was going full-fledged back into photography, and I was going to take it up a notch, really get myself learning again, because obviously like, it was a little bit stale, not doing it very much for the last handful of years, and just kind of literally dove into it full force, full time. The only other thing I've got going on for me is teaching a couple nights a week still, because I just couldn't quite give up that passion of dance, and I still wanted it to be like doing it a little bit. Will I do it forever? I don't know. But right now it just felt still good to have it a couple nights a week. But yeah, other than that, I'm just literally doing full-time photography.
You mentioned your husband having some doubts. Is that, would you say, was like one of your biggest struggles, to like him not see the vision and you were like all gung-ho about it? And
you know what, he's like that with all things. Like when we bought our first house, when we were deciding to like take the plunge to getting married, like all of that stuff, he was like like even when we were renting our first house, I was like, we're just renting it, like it's gonna be okay.
And it took him analytical.
He is, and he's like, well, what about this, what about that? And I'm just like, oh my God, and my name's already signed on the dotted lines, and I'm like, just what
you don't even read the document.
Don't make me forge your no.
You don't even read the document, do you?
No, I don't. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? And he's like, everything
Did you
can
read
happen.
the fine print? Jeez.
So no, he's actually been a very big cheerleader. He's just more hesitant than defiant about it. I do have other people, like my mom. I love her to death, but she is like terrified of all the big changes that I've taken. Like she's still like trying to wrap her brain around this full-time photography thing.
Yeah.
And it's been however many months now, and she's like, I don't know, is it consistent enough? And I'm like, there's so many photographers out there, but it goes back to that conversation. There's so many everything out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a million dentists. There's a million, everybody.
America's good right now. There's a million everything.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what industry you go into.
Right. Unless you're
matter.
creating something like literally that's never happened, there's going to be people doing it.
Yes.
So you just got to figure out how you're going to do it differently or better, or have a different client base, whatever it is.
Different angle, different niche, something.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel you dealing with your mom, with her a little bit pushed against it?
Sometimes it makes me second guess my thoughts. Myself. I'm going on a trip next week, and she's like terrified of me doing it. I'm going to be going to LA by myself to do photo shoots for some stuff, and she's like, I don't know, I just have a bad feeling. And I'm like, I don't think it's a bad feeling about it. I think you're just projecting your fear onto me, because I don't think she'd ever travel by herself, at this point in her life. And I'm like, what's so, people fly by themselves all the time. People stay places by themselves all the time. I mean, it's no different, And
Liam Neeson is in the world.
Right?
He'll take care of it.
He's
We're
good.
fine.
I've got him on my back dial. It's good. He'll be there.
I've been taken.
I'm going to be in LA. There's going to be plenty of stunt double. People will save me. It's
That's
fine.
right.
So, I think it second guessed me, though, because there was a time when I was like, I'm just going to tell them I can't do this. Because she kind of got in my mind. I'm like, well, maybe it isn't good. Is it a bit, what am I going to do? And so I just, that's where I find myself having that second guessing, even though deep down I'm like, no, I got to do I have to do this to prove to myself that I can do it and push myself over the limits, because I am absolutely nervous about it. I'm nervous. Like, it's definitely out of my comfort zone. It's different. It was an unexpected opportunity, but I feel like I need to take it. So, I think the second guessing thing it's probably the hardest thing when you have those doubters, or people who are more, just trepidatious about something. You're just kind of like, okay, maybe they have a good reason for that. Am I totally crazy? I mean, I am, but am I crazy?
All entrepreneurs are crazy.
Right? Yeah, totally.
We're all a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what probably the biggest thing for me, and then just like the I don't even know what the word is for it, but the side of me that wants to prove everybody wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gets a little bit stronger, because then I'm
like
like
a chip on your shoulder.
Oh yeah, let me show you. And I don't know if that's always the best quality to have underlying.
I think it is.
So is it? Okay,
I really think it is.
I think it's most people's strong suit. Like, you want to prove yourself.
Yeah.
You want to just jump off the cliff. Like, that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
No matter
because
what.
It's true.
Because it's also like a subconscious emotion.
Yeah.
So it's not like wavering. So it doesn't go on and off all the time.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay. I like
consistent.
that.
So you're consistently pushing.
Yeah.
I think that really helps a lot
Yeah,
of people.
anything consistent is proven to get results. So.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of comes up for me when I'm having those people pushing back. But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you feel good. Do you feel like you're holding on to your beliefs with your mom? I mean, I know that's tough. Like it's your mom. It's not like you're even a best friend is completely different than your mom.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I feel like sometimes I just don't even like start the conversation because I don't want to like have to like delve through it.
Sure, yeah.
But I think the more and more that I get into it and the more that I have to prove to say, look at what's coming out of this.
Yeah.
Like, look at what I'm doing. Look at the opportunities I've got, the people I've met.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, it's not even just about, like, in her mind, she's like only looking at like the income side of things. And that's not why I do any of the things I've ever done in my life, you know? Obviously, we all need to make a living somehow. Like, that's just life. But I don't look at that. And so I think the more that I can prove all the other things and show her the other great things, like I'm literally going to like have dinner with one of my clients that I did a shoot for her cat. And I'm like, it was like this, yeah, it was this, it's right. It was this, I mean, it was a very sad situation. The cat was dying, but we became like kind of like quick friends, you know, and it was like a vulnerable situation. But I'm like, look, I'm like created a friend like, so the more I have those kind of stories, or like people who like message me saying like I'm literally in tears because I never felt that beautiful in a picture. Like, to me, like I can almost tear up talking about it because that's what it's about for me.
Absolutely.
And so the more that I can put those into my conversations with her, anybody who's like, well, what are you really doing?
Yeah.
The better I feel about it, because that's what I'm really after in life, is to like make an impact and a legacy.
I could see that as a photographer, that it would be hard to get taken seriously.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
there's a million, because anybody's a photographer.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And some people are like, oh, I have my iPhone and whatever.
Where's
and they're
the
like,
gray line of
Yes.
true professional photographer versus just a guy that just wants to take photos?
Right.
You know, like there's a big difference there, but I'm sure the line is grayed where people are like, oh, cool, you're a photographer.
Perfect example is a runway model and an Instagram model.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
I mean?
Yeah. So I think that's where I kind of take like my Amore Vita means love life. So my whole big thing on it is like I want to leave a legacy to like change people in some way. It could be the smallest thing. They might not even notice that it changes, or maybe they will 10 years from now. But like for me, like my whole take on it, when I post something, I try to tell a story. But I'm trying to like get people to realize that like, yes, anybody can take, you know, a decent photo on a cell phone these days. But can you really, can a mom and a dad both be engaged with their kids at the same time and take a quality photo that's going to make them look back to that time when that child is only going to be 5 for a year.
Right.
And, you know, except for, you know, instead of the mom being the person behind the camera or them trying to do a selfie or whatever it is, I try to make everything that I do an experience. So they're like, you know, like,
You're capturing a moment. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, I'm capturing. So I try to like, you know, take that like that people are like, oh yeah, you're just a photographer, and I'm like, thanks. You know, to like being like, no, it's an experience. There, you know, I try to do like actual like things going on in, you know, any session that I have or whatever. And like if I do any sort of event, like I like try to be part of it. I'm like, can I help you decorate? Can I help you break down? Like, you know, I'm not getting paid extra for that, but I just want to be there. And
Here's
be
a good
there.
background.
That's a huge differentiator, especially in photography, because then there's so much more emotion into the pictures itself. You were part of the creation.
Exactly.
I've seen the difference. I've seen the difference where, like, everybody, like, somebody's laughing and they're looking into each other's eyes, you know, that kind of thing, but they like captured at that like instant where it needs to be captured, and not at like a half second later where it's like they're kind of looking, but it's not the
like,
same.
Oh, do that again. Do that again.
Yeah,
Like,
and then it's so unnatural because you're like, oh, get back there.
Yeah,
do
exactly.
that one more time.
And people are not actors, so they can't do that
right.
very
And
well.
most people are absolutely uncomfortable, myself included. Like on our engagement session and our wedding, I was like, you know, and I'm like, I'm a dancer. I've been on stage a million times, but I'm still just like, what do I do with my hands? Like, even though I actually know what to do.
Like
if I don't have a beer in it, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I just don't know.
My kind of people right here.
Like literally, you know, like I feel like I've been at the bar before where I'm just like holding an empty bottle just because I don't want to, you know. But no, so I'm like, I don't know. So I want to make people feel comfortable in their own skin because, you know, everybody deserves to, you know.
Absolutely. So let's backtrack a little bit. When did you start full time again?
Literally September 2018. So
this has been going on. You've been doing this for a little over 8 months now, not 10 months?
6,
Oh
yeah, something like that. I can't count.
Math is terrible.
Entrepreneurs.
Right, yeah, like,
come on.
Where's the calculator? We need a calculator, guys. So, I mean, starting off, just getting going, like your first month in business, what would you say was like your biggest obstacle? What would you say was your biggest struggle to overcome, besides like the doubt from your family and stuff like that?
I was lucky because it was like peak season for like family photography and all that because people love fall photos.
Yeah, of course. And it's like
So
wedding
that
season,
helped.
right?
Yeah,
Or is
you
that a
know, it's
little bit
becoming
before?
more wedding season
Yeah.
for sure. So that helped. But I would say just kind of knowing like how to start like getting myself back out there because I was like so going back to people taking me seriously. Oh yeah, she used to do this, but now she's doing it again. Like now she's doing it full time.
Right.
Like what is that? So I think getting people to take me seriously, figuring out like what if am I niching down? Am I only going to do certain types of photography
Yeah.
right away? Am I going to keep it broad for now? What am I going to do with
That's
that?
probably the biggest question that most businesses have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do I niche down and not make as much money?
Right.
But then like it'll sooner or later pay off, or do I do a bunch of stuff just to like survive?
Yeah.
And that's a
It
really
is.
hard decision.
Exactly.
I mean,
So-
obviously the right answer is niche down
Yep.
and like do
Right.
one
And just
specific
go
thing.
for it.
It's a sacrifice.
But it's like in real life, like that's just not possible sometimes.
Right, yeah. And so I decided not to niche down right away. So that was a struggle too, because then I'm like, am I like
Yeah.
cheating myself
Yeah.
out for not doing, just getting down to like what I really love, what I'm really like, want to be out there in the world. But I decided not to right away. But
Why?
I feel like it's coming. Because at the time it was like boom, boom. I was just getting the natural like inquiries of the stuff that I feel like eventually will fall away, like family photos and stuff like that. I love doing that, but I feel like eventually that might go.
And if you don't want to say no either, like even though you have a niche and you have a demographic, I mean, you're still going to take in business from other areas that may not fit right into your demographic.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think that was like a struggle for me just internally. I don't think anybody necessarily saw that struggle. Maybe
Yeah.
like my husband, because I would talk to him like, what do I want to do with this? But it was like a kind of a hard thing for me to figure out at first. And then I thought, you know what, like let me like not overthink this.
And just kind of accept everything.
Yeah.
Feel it out.
And figure out, because I feel like going back into it for me, I wasn't sure like right away. Like if somebody like held a gun to my head and was like, pick one, what are you doing right now? I'd be like, I like didn't know.
Yeah.
Like I needed time to get back into doing it a little bit more often, because at that time during the summer and spring, I'd kind of been picking up my camera doing stuff here and there, but it wasn't enough to be like, yes, I want to only do families, or I only want to do weddings, or whatever.
What's the most lucrative weddings, I'm assuming?
Yes. I mean, yes and no. I guess it just depends, because like if you want to burn out quick, take
Weddings.
on weddings all the time. Like literally book your whole entire month of weddings, because it's weekend work. It's long. I mean, it's just
long
hard.
hours,
It's
yeah.
long hours. Your body takes, I mean, the cameras are not light. People like forget these. You're not like carrying a cloud around. Like it's, all these things factor into it. But it is lucrative. But there is a lot of up and coming things like branding and lifestyle. I was just talking about it before I came in here. It's something that I've just like, people have just started like falling into my lap to do branding and lifestyle for companies, like or just like entrepreneurs. Like I just did a real estate person. I did just a bunch of different people.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So basically, it's somebody who wants to take their marketing and social media in particular, like to the next level. They want to have perfectly curated photos that look great. So it's not like them taking a selfie, like, in front of their house, or and it's high quality. There's kind of a theme to them. We work together to figure out, okay, do you have like a, is red your
Right, your logo.
Yeah.
Do you want like calm and white,
Right.
soft? Or do you want like?
Yes, exactly. And so the big thing now is like, because of social media, people are like saying, okay, post at least 3 times a week, 2 times, 2 times each of those days or whatever. There's all this different, and I don't think, for me anyways, I don't think there's a perfect way to like, be out there networking and on social media or in marketing. But I feel like this branding thing is like, it's blowing up big.
It's
And
a
I'm
big
like
deal.
kind of on the tip of it.
I actually
and
really
I'm,
like this idea. I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, and
This is really smart.
It's been really great. The people, like I said, and just since January, I've worked with 5 people, and it's only been a month and a half.
You should, if you want to build that out, you should hire a social media person that does like post it for them. So you like take photos of them, and then you have somebody that like posts and responds to comments. And
ironic that you say that, because I just like, again, this networking thing is amazing. Like this girl that I just she's socially stuff on networking, but she is like that person. Like she works with people to do all of that for them, and I'm like, and so she's we're working together to kind of like get out there and get these people figuring out what their niche is, what they're doing, how they want to be presented, because they're like, I don't know, I just take a photo of my coffee cup and say like good morning to my clients, and I'm like, that's cool, but we can up it. We can still do a picture of a coffee cup, but let's angle it different. Let's figure out the story behind it.
And if you had had like more strategy behind it. Like,
Yes.
okay, so for this month that you've paid me X amount of money for,
Right.
here's the things we're going to do. I want you to go to an open house or whatever it is, and I want to take you in front of the open house and putting in a sign, and then I want to go
Exactly.
here and like take you writing a like if you like said like, here's what we're going to do, and you had a strategy behind it.
Yes.
That would be, and you wrote copy. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
Like a
really
why,
good.
essentially. Like, why are we doing this?
Right.
Who are we trying to attract? What's our demographic?
Exactly.
There's a method behind the madness, essentially.
Yes. So it's a huge thing, and I honestly feel like talking about niching, that'll eventually be kind of where
That's
I
a
go
good
to.
one.
But
I really like
yeah,
that.
it's really good, and it's great because I feel like it's super way to be personal with people again.
Yes.
I like to be personal. I want to sit down and talk to you. We can have a consultation, figure out what you want. Do we want to get props? Do we want to get things? Because some of the stuff's going to be staged. You can't always have the live thing happening.
Yeah.
So some stuff might be staged, cool,
Yeah.
whatever. But let's figure it out.
You're telling
you know?
a story.
Do you want to have whatever
Would
it
you
is?
say that really helps you capture some of these more personal moments, is just understanding that, knowing that like that's what you're trying to accomplish, is
Yeah.
create a personal bond with your clients, understand them better.
Absolutely. And it's still so new to me because it literally just started falling in my lap. Like, oh, my so-and-so needs wants to revamp their website. And I'm like, okay. I could take good photos, but I don't know what that means yet. And so, yeah, definitely, like, it helps to be able to create that bond with people. Because at the end of the day, like, I do what I do because I like meeting new people and, like, being part of their story, like,
absolutely.
literally, that's the cool thing about hopefully most things
And
that
it'd
you're
be so
doing.
unique. Like there would be,
Yeah.
it would be different every freaking time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like the one person I did, like they're like the rock star is like part of their thing. So we did like the normal, like looking like headshots and and then she had like a pink and green wig on and like a rock on sign, and like those are gonna be used for certain things. Now is she gonna post that all the time? No. But is that like the perfect thing to like build a certain part of her story? Yeah. People are gonna see her fun side. People are gonna see her wacky side.
Do you do video as well? Or just
I haven't got
photography?
into it yet, but it could be coming.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm like toying with. It's not something I've had too much experience with, obviously, so I'd have to like really kind of figure out what I'm doing with that. But
Because I heard it was Tom Ferry. He was talking. He went to Facebook headquarters, and Facebook headquarters wants to compete with YouTube. Except
Wow.
instead
Of
of
course it
like
does. It's Facebook.
yeah, exactly.
Whether they're
They
having
want to
these
be
watch parties.
they want to be 100% video. Like that's their goal. Like their algorithms, if you just do text, is almost unseen now.
Wow, really?
Yep. So just video. Facebook is like only video. We want
Yeah.
only video. If you do video, we will let our algorithms let you see people. If
It
you
makes
do
sense,
not,
though.
We will not let you see. No one
yeah,
will see it.
it makes sense because people's attention spans.
Yes.
They don't want to read a long post.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they do, maybe if they're in the right mood, but most of the time they're like, oh my God, I'm in between taking my kid to school and doing whatever.
Yeah.
And then, they're just, they want to see a quick little clip video that's whatever, a minute long and move
On the contrary to that, though, the last 2 posts that I've done, one was somebody gave me a $100 Portillo's card because I helped them paint their
I
house.
saw that. That was really cool.
And it was
I
a long story. Did you actually read it?
I did.
Honestly?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did. But
Did you
I,
read the
I,
whole thing?
I'm like I like that kind of stuff. Like I'm a lengthy kind of gal, so my posts are typically long too.
Yeah. Isn't that weird, though? Like, those are my best posts when I tell like a long story.
Because you're telling the story.
Yeah.
So even though it's not in video form, I think
Yeah.
it's still great, and I think eventually it's going to curve back to that.
You think so?
think
Yeah.
it
So I think it's
starts-
got to stay there a little bit. Like, don't get rid of it.
It starts with video, though. It starts with like short content. Like
Mm-hmm.
the people that were watching or reading through that full post, there's a lot of people that didn't, because they didn't see all the content before that, because you do have like smaller size content that's
Yeah, I
like
agree
quick
with
and
you.
painless, and of course we build that recognition with you. Like I
Yeah,
know Jake
Facebook
for
doesn't
this.
recognize that. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
So like
Right.
I read it because obviously I know you and you're a good
Sure.
friend of mine. I'm gonna
Right.
be like, oh, Jake posted something. I'm gonna look at it. She might have read it because she has seen your stuff
Yeah.
in the past, maybe in the short form,
Yep.
and then eventually she'll, I like what he's doing. I like where he's going, the direction that he's taking this. And when you post something long, you're like, okay, I want to check this out. Read the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a perfect point, because I've read a lot, as I'm doing my research and like how to like be, out there in the best way possible. People say like when you're first out there, don't do long posts like that. People don't know your personality. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know what you're after. You don't want to seem, salesy or whatever. And people associate longness with like, oh, they're trying to drag me into something, when it's not. You're trying to tell a story.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, but once you get more and more people in, you might still lose a couple of those few people that are going to pass by like, oh, that's so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're going to keep the people. I don't care if you have 10 people who are constantly looking and liking and sharing and telling people to go to your business or whatever it is. Like, that's where it's at. You
Yeah.
want those 10 people to be like hooked on every word.
I thought it was interesting because I really thought like you, like when I'm looking at Facebook, I'm like literally looking really quick and I have no time, but I
Yeah.
look for a long time, so it's stupid.
Right. So yeah, you're like, should I be like, going to certain quality things and looking at less? But
Right.
Yeah, so social media is quite the monster. And I think it's just trial and error, throwing things. It's just like everything else. You're just trying stuff out, again, starting small, really short and sweet, and then you can build off that. And of course, there's different style. There's certain people that are watching and reading different things.
Absolutely.
So you have the new clients who are like on your Facebook and they don't know who you are. That the smaller content's going to attract them. And then you have the long stuff for the people who have been following you for 5 years.
Yeah, and I think as an entrepreneur or a business owner of any kind, you just have to find what your mission is and what you want to portray. The right people are going to follow you after that. Like be as authentic as you possibly can for who you want to be, and you're good to go. For sure. There's no right or wrong way at that point.
That's a good final thought right there in itself,
That is a
man.
good thought.
But just to add to that a little bit, we're going to wrap this up here shortly. But as far as the entrepreneurs listening and people just like you who are starting off a new business, a new venture, what would you say is like a piece of advice you'd give them, whether that's social media, marketing, branding, anything that you could contribute towards their cause?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like the first thing I want to say is just, believe in yourself. Because honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like most people in this world could be doing so much more than they do on a regular basis. I hate to see people stuck in what they're doing and like, because I think people see entrepreneurs as like the crazy people who are like, oh yeah, like, they just have the best life because they just, make their own schedule, whatever, however they look at it. So just believe in yourself and do it, because I really do feel that most people can do what we do in whatever niche that they decide to go into or business, and just really push yourself to take that leap and go for it. Do the research, do the behind the scenes, looking at whatever it is. Don't even, if you don't feel comfortable telling people right away, do your own kind of investigation of like, how would I start this? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go with this? And then start bringing in the right people. If you've got that one friend that is always supportive, that one family member, that whoever, find your right support system and you're going to soar. It doesn't matter, if you have the naysayers, you're going to have those no matter what. So believe in yourself and surround yourself with the right people.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Perfect pieces of advice right there, especially for the entrepreneur. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for coming on the show.
Me. Super excited to be here.
Awesome talking to you. Great conversation. This stuff just flew by. Wish we had more time, but hopefully we can leave this opened up for another episode one day.
Absolutely.
When you become a millionaire, you can come back.
Yeah.
And you can give us some
there
money.
You go.
And
tell us your secrets.
You sponsoring.
Yeah, there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Megan Holly. She's a photographer, an amazing photographer, new entrepreneur. Really happy to have her on the show with us today. And you can find her on Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm there.
And of course, some of our networking events. She's going to be at some of our networking events. We have events monthly with people just like her. So if you want to connect with people like that, definitely check those events out. And thanks again for coming out, Megan. Really appreciate it. And that's it. Closing out. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
See ya.